Greetings everybody and welcome back to Smartwatch Tics, and thanks for taking time to take a look at this video. We're doing something I've never done before. I'm making a video to revisit the No.1 D7 smartwatch. Why am I doing this? Primarily because of you and the comments you've been leaving under the videos of the review of this watch, along with my own personal experience in reviewing what's been going on over on the No.1 company blog about the D7. If you recall, when we published the original review, it was hyped as being a really long-lasting watch, that it would go for 5 days in standby mode, that it had a huge battery, and it had low power-consuming components like a smaller pixeled screen and other things that should give it a really long life. Well, can you see this clock face? It's 11 o'clock on May the 31st, and down here it says 35%. That's the battery amount that's left after exactly 24 hours. I started this at 11 o'clock yesterday, and I don't have much turned on. I have Bluetooth turned on but not tethered. I have Wi-Fi turned on and connected, and I don't have GPS on. And that's it. The only thing I've done is check the time periodically just to see how it was doing and get ready for this review. There's another little thing, getting it back. Now it's dropped to 34%. What we're getting are a bunch of interesting results from viewers. These are some of the comments that have come in on the No.1 smartwatch blog, and a few comments on the videos down here too. And basically there's some issues showing up related to this watch. So let's talk about them. There's an issue related to airport mode. Some people are having the plane stuck in airport mode, or airport mode, that doesn't allow for the watch to do its things, even with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS all on and connected, and with it connected to FunFit. There's issues related to the weather. It's stuck. All of us have it stuck in Shenzhen, it seems. Now, there is a firmware update for this watch, and it's supposed to be pushed as an over-the-air update, or you can download it and do a firmware flash. Well, I did that. I flashed the firmware on this watch, and I don't have Shenzhen anymore, but I don't have any weather whatsoever. Whether I have GPS on or off, Wi-Fi on or off, Bluetooth on or off, connected, not connected, outside, inside, upside down, I don't get any weather. So there's a firmware update that's supposed to handle issues with the battery, issues with the weather, and some of these other connectivity issues, but I'm not seeing the results in my watch. So I felt compelled to kind of bring this to your attention if you're considering the D7 and future D blank products like the D7W that's about to come out, a D8, D9, whatever, that we need to scrutinize these a little bit more to see exactly what's going on inside. Because the video that I made on this really looked like this was the godsend watch of all time if you wanted an Android watch with a long life. And unfortunately, as you can see from some of these comments, it's not that way. And that's been my truth too. The test results I did on the original review with nothing turned on, no radios, airplane mode, power save mode, and only looking at the time periodically, gave me 3 days. I have not gotten anywhere like 5 days. So not sure. 500 milliamp battery supposedly in here, and we're not quite getting what was claimed in terms of life, and certainly not getting a long life when it's being used as just regular day-to-day use. In fact, one of these, I believe, says they're doing better with their D5 than they are with the D7. So, where do we go from here? Well, we'll talk about a few more things. On my particular unit, the button is sometimes not working well. It'll press it and it'll come up, but then other times I have to press really hard before I can get it to come up. That's not really good. when you get into the overall settings and you go into the power saving and you do that open hand bright thing, I think you read in some of the comments that that doesn't really work well. Let's see. I can't even turn it off. There we go. There. Okay, now we're off. Oh, there it came on by itself. I have to wait for it to time out. You see, I should be able to push it and it turns on and push it and it turns off, right? Okay. Now when I twist it, well, it went on when I twisted it down. It's really strange. Many times I lift my arm to want to see what the time is and I'm not getting it. I can't turn it off just by pressing it. Okay, it's off, right? Everybody sees it's off? Now it worked. Every now and then it works. It's not consistent and it's a bit flaky in that. And the straw that kind of brought me to this point of saying, you know, we really have to take a look at this watch and do a follow-up on it is what's inside. When I was attempting to put in custom watch faces like you see here, I got into one of those nasty situations that sometimes happens called boot loop. And boot looping is when you've installed the watch faces and then you go to restart the watch and it'll come up with the logo and then it turns itself off and starts over again. And it gets into this loop where it just won't stop. Now the common fix for that, and it usually works, is you take it apart. So I'm going to do that because that's what I did. Now, all of the Android watches that I've been in so far have had the opportunity for me to just go in. In fact, a lot of them I open up for you guys, and I guide you to where the pins are for the charging. And right near the pins is this little connector that lets you pop up the connector and remove the battery power from the watch. And so you basically, if it's in a boot loop mode, you disconnect the power, and you wait a few seconds and you reconnect it, and then you're good to go. It'll boot right back up again. If it still doesn't do it, you have to flash firmware and blah, blah, blah. But that's always a good start, is to disconnect the battery. Well, this watch, it has two connectors. One's over here. It goes down into the side there, and another one is right here, and it goes down there. All these things are the little antenna connectors. There's 3 of them that go into the antennas that are in the bands. And this, folks, right here, the twisted black and red wires are where the battery is soldered to the card, to the motherboard. The only way you can get out of a boot loop or to try to reflash the memory, because you have to have the watch off in order to reflash the memory. The only way you can do that is to cut or unsolder the battery wire. That's like, I need to call that to your attention. One, because it still got into that boot loop situation, which I thought was solved a long time ago. We had videos up on that when it was happening earlier in the watches, and all the companies updated things so that it doesn't ever happen again, but it did happen. And 2, the fact that it did happen and got me stuck took me to the point where I had to disconnect the battery manually without, you shouldn't have to get a soldering gun or clippers to fix your watch. You should be able to just disconnect the little connector. So the build quality on this, a button that doesn't work right for me and others, the lack of being able to quickly disconnect the battery if you need to when you get inside. I'm not happy with the build quality. I'm not happy with the battery. I can't get into it to even verify if it's 500 milliamps without taking the whole thing apart. But the battery life tells me that either the battery isn't holding the right kind of charge or the electronics are draining it too much, even though they're supposed to be low power. I just want you guys to know where we are is an update for the D7. Now, the D7W is supposed to be coming out And No.1 says it's got all the fixes to the bugs that are in the D7, and it doesn't have the SIM card. So the SIM card slot's going to be gone or covered up, or just a little, I don't know, it's just not going to be there. And it's not going to function as a standalone smartwatch phone. However, all the rest of the watch will be the same. The firmware, the software, the operating system is supposed to be the same. And because this is a standalone watch phone, the tethering that this does with the installed app on your phone does not allow for making phone calls, right? It's really limited just for sending notifications to the watch. So you take away the SIM card, you're not going to be able to use this as a phone at all. They're not changing it so that it'll Bluetooth connect to your phone, and you'll be able to use it like you would a tethering, a true tethering watch, where you make your calls and text messages from your watch through your phone. No, it's not going to do that. It's going to be the same setup as the watch is right now. So the D7W will be like the D7, most likely exactly like the D7, but without the SIM card in it. So no ability to make or receive phone calls or text messages whatsoever from this watch. Okay, that's the current condition, where is it, of the No.1 D7 smartwatch. And I really, really, really appreciate you guys when you leave your comments in the show notes about whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you have problems with it, because that is as meaningful as the reviews that I put out. When you watch a review of a watch that you're interested in and you want to know more, you're thinking of buying it, by all means, check the show notes down below and see what other people have had to say after they've had the watch for a while. By now, you all know that I really don't have the time, the wherewithal, or the patience to do deep battery testing of every one of these watches, because it takes days. And you have to turn certain things on or off. You want to know, does it work with the SIM card in it or without? All those things. So real users are encouraged to leave real comments down below about especially your battery life experience and anything else that comes up. All right, enough of this. There's a update for the D7 smartwatch from No.1 with some of the concerns that users are expressing and that I've found in mine. We'll see you again with more reviews. Thanks for watching, and definitely thanks for taking a look at this one.